episode, we'll be looking at leading a single parent family. We understand in many communities around the world, some due to no fault of anybody, people find themselves in single family scenarios. And it's important to address issues there and help people who may be experiencing that kind of a life. What sort of help is available to them? What sort of tips and things that can enlighten them? So, tonight we're going to have a lot of nuggets. And if you know anybody who is in that scenario, please make sure you share this link with them tonight. I have tonight Dr. Zina Arinze. Dr. Zina is a woman with many, many, many caps. I can't enumerate them. And I'm going to bring her in. But before that, I will use an electronic introduction to introduce her to everyone in the studio. And right after that, she will come in. Dr. Zina Arinze, DD, is a true force to be reckoned with. Known as the Reinvention Queen, she wears multiple hats as an accredited ministry leader, international transformational speaker, lawyer, best-selling author, and much more. With a passion for empowering women of faith and female professionals, Dr. Zina is the visionary behind Believe and Live Again divorce recovery, coaching, and mentoring. This groundbreaking service helps women swiftly transition from we to me after divorce, guiding them towards healing, self-discovery, and the rebuilding of their lives and careers. Dr. Zina's impact extends far beyond divorce recovery. As the CEO of the Reinvent You experience, she helps disillusioned and unfulfilled women break free from stagnation, empowering them to create profitable legacies even after experiencing traumatic life transitions. In 2018, Dr. Zina launched the Reinvent You After Abuse Foundation, TRYAF. This remarkable charity, led by women in ministry and financial experts, is dedicated to eradicating the stigma and trauma of domestic violence through financial education and empowerment. As a true champion for women's empowerment, Dr. Zina serves as the chair of Phenomenal African Women Africa UK, an international NGO committed to empowering African women and young girls in the diaspora. Additionally, Dr. Zina plays a vital role as a planning board member of the Black Church's Domestic Abuse Forum, further solidifying her commitment to tackling domestic violence and creating safer communities. Get ready to be inspired and motivated by the incredible journey and life of Dr. Zina Arinze, the Reinvention Queen. Dr. Zina, thank you so much for joining us today. Oh my goodness, I feel so excited, like a little boy who said, finally, Oh, but
Oh
it's so
my
good to
babe.
have you in here today. And I'm looking forward to an exciting time with you. I know a couple of others will be joining us, still enjoying the summer, but people will be coming online as well. And for the benefit of those who will be coming later. Before we get into some of the questions I'd like to ask you, I have one burning question on my mind.
Right.
How do you fit in all these? Some people can just wear many hats because for them just for perception's sake, but you are there, you're committed. How do you do it? All these different things in the faith arena, in the business arena, family arena. How do you do it?
First and foremost, Rex, I just have to say thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, it's an absolute joy, an absolute honor, an absolute pleasure to be on your show. Yes, I did hear in the back room that you've been chasing me all around, and you have, but we've made it happen. Thank you
That's
for your
right.
persistence. I'm so glad I'm here. To answer that question, I get asked that question a lot, and I actually ask myself that question as well. And I don't want to be cliched and say it's because of the grace of God, because it is because of the grace of God. God has made it possible for me to do that. Is it hard? Yes, it is. Do some of the balls fall? You know, because I know there are lots of people that are listening to this around the world, or those that will listen, later on, and sometimes they see me and I think this is some big enigma. I want people to know that I'm just like you, flesh and
mm,
blood. Yes, I do wear many hats because these are things that I'm passionate about, and I'm really passionate about leaving a living legacy. What will be around when I'm gone? You know,
mm,
how can I impact one life at a time? So that's why I do what I do. Do I sometimes get tired? Yes, I do. Does it sometimes get overwhelming? Yes, it does. But when I remember that someone needs to hear what I have to say, someone that I would never meet. It could be someone in Papua New Guinea, it could be someone in Ghana, it could even be here in the UK that I would never meet, gets out of bed because they need to hear something that I have to say. That
mm,
moves me forward. When I remember that I've got daughters, and lots of women go through all sorts of things from childhood even up until adulthood, even when they're really, really old. When I remember that, I know that I have a duty of care to mankind, to womankind, to ensure that I show up and show up well.
mm,
It's really not about me. For those of us that are in the faith arena, it's practical Christianity. We can read the Bible, we can pray in tongues, we can give our tithes and all that, but people are going through real issues. And the only way you can help people get through real issues is when people that are going through real issues share their story, share their journey, warts and all, share your vulnerability, and let people know that with resilience, with self belief, with the right support network behind you, and of course, with the Holy Spirit, you can get through this. And
mm.
that's why I wear those many hats.
Awesome, awesome. So right, so there's a secret behind everything, and we know where the praise needs to go to. Thank you so much for
Absolutely,
that.
absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Again, I just want to start with a couple of questions, but maybe start off with your personal journey. So, I mean, if you can share a little bit of your own personal story, as much as you think you want to share, and maybe how you found yourself in a single parent mode or role, and maybe some of the initial emotions you had along the way, challenges you would have faced. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Rex. I guess when I was listening to the intro, when you were taught before you started speaking about me, it's absolutely true. Lots of people find themselves in this situation without actually thinking it will ever be them. I was one of those people. As far as I was concerned, you get married, you meet your knight in shining armor, or your prince in shining armor, you go off into the sunset, the
Mm,
white horse, and you just fly off or ride away, and you live happily ever after. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything about divorce. I mean, as far as I was concerned at the time, divorce was something that, um I don't know, I'm showing my age now. Elizabeth Taylor, was a
right.
lovely actress, Elizabeth Taylor, and she, had been married several times to several different people, and she got married to one particular guy twice. That had a love hate relationship,
Hmm.
but that was the love of her life, Richard Burton. And as far as I was, and my parents, obviously, this is what that was their reality, watching that on TV, watching the films, seeing it in the news. So some of that will filter down to us, the kids. So that was all I knew about divorce. And then obviously, from English history, Henry VIII, and his six wives, dead, buried, divorced, and all that. That's all. It was a dirty word. It wasn't something in my community. I didn't know anything about it. I just felt I'll get married, have children, and Bob's your uncle, and
Hmm.
Frankie's your niece. I think that's what they say. I can't remember. And then suddenly it became my reality. Um, got married, had children. Marriage was rocky, lots of challenges. On both sides, lots of challenges and all that. And eventually the marriage, fizzled out. And I don't want to go into too much detail because there's a book on it and people can read the book.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, yeah, but the key thing here was that I was a reluctant single mom. I was a reluctant divorcee. I never wanted to I mean, I would have stayed forever. I mean, you don't do that. Knowing what I know now, if it's not working, if it's a toxic environment, you need to get out. I don't care what anyone's telling you, especially if they're children, because the children are traumatized. It doesn't matter whether it's a little bit or a lot. And traumatic children or traumatized children end up being traumatized adults, and they become the leaders of tomorrow. So, you know, knowing what I know now and having children of, my own, and, being in a position to actually counsel and guide and coach different people, if it's not working, that's after you've done everything. The Bible says after you've done everything to stand. So after you've done every single thing that you can do, both of you, if both of you are committed, it will come back together. But if one person doesn't want that marriage, it doesn't matter what you do until you're blue in the face. And what you're
Mm.
doing is that you're traumatizing yourself and you're traumatizing your children. And even if your children are not traumatized at the time, you're traumatizing them yourself, because you cannot be the best parent that you need to be, especially from an emotional standpoint, because you might be depressed. I was. You might be sad, you might be grieving, you might be, your confidence might have gone, all sorts of things. And I had all those various emotions. And you can imagine the kind of impact it would have on children growing up. They will just see a mother that's always crying, a mother that's
Mm.
always sad. And they would think, oh, I wonder if it's my fault. What can I do to make it better for mommy? You see, and I
Mm.
say this now because there'll be lots of women and men listening to this right now, and they're like, you know what, we need to stay married. The Bible says, God hates divorce. The Bible's clear. God hates so a lot of things. God hates theft.
Mhm.
God hates domestic violence. God hates lying. God hates a whole range of things. But we like to, capitalize on the God hates divorce part, and that's actually, and it kind of re-victimizes women. Lots of women have died in, and I know you haven't asked me that question, but lots of women have died, and men, in abusive relationships. Women of faith,
Mm.
across, not just Christians,
That's right.
across all the other faiths as well. Because obviously most faiths are against divorce, not particularly because it's like it's a way of keeping women in check. So you find out that when a relationship breaks down, very few people will ask, "What did the man do?" It'll always be that the woman was a bad woman. She must have done something. She might have burnt the food, or she was, not respectful. She was didn't,
Mm.
didn't submit, or a whole range of things. You know, she was untidy. A whole range of things, and these are things that happen. Um, but no one will ask, what did the man do? Even if he was violent, and not men are not always violent. So I'm not trying to
That's
paint.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but even if he was violent or he was drunk, he was an alcoholic, and didn't want to change, didn't want to get help, or even if he was, filtering money away, and all sorts of things that can break relationships. No one will ask what he did. Even if it was a serial cheater.
Mm.
In fact, people would ask you to many people tell you to go back.
Mm.
In the African community particularly, they will say, "Oh, okay, so he's having affairs." Ah, I'm going to go in a bit of an accent now. Oh, okay. Is he not feeding you? Is he not paying the mortgage? Is he not paying your children's school fees? Are you the only one? And then they'll start advising you and telling you how so and so, but no one asked the man. So if a man's out of the marriage, not well, many, no one. He comes out smelling of sugar or smelling
Mm.
of flowers. But a woman, it's always your fault. So many women, myself inclusive, when my marriage ended, I felt horrible. I was disgusted with life.
Mm.
I was disgusted with myself. I said to myself, how could I find myself in this situation? What could I have done differently? Maybe I should have begged my husband more. Maybe I should have, whatever it is that was going on, I should have allowed those things to go on more. I just didn't feel that I had, I was horrified with myself. And lots of women go through that. Some women go through that so much so that they don't leave the marriage. Or I have a situation, I have a client I'm working with at the moment. They've been unmarried, married for 8 years. They live in the same house. To all intents and purposes, they go to church, not in the same car, but they show up in church together, so they look married. They don't talk to each other. When they do talk, they fight. the children talk about it in children's church. And so the children are so traumatized with that situation. The man has actually filed to end the marriage, and the woman refused. So she'd rather stay, and she's not an exception. So many women will stay in marriages so they look married, so
Hmm.
they don't look like failures. I was that kind of woman, so I wasn't. I was a stayer.
Okay.
So I was a stayer. I would have stayed. This has got almost 15 years, 16 years on. I probably, if he didn't leave, I still would have been there. Maybe I would have been dead. Or the children would have been more traumatized than they, are already. If they, or it would have impacted them even, because toxic relationships are toxic relationships, and we don't. I
Hmm.
like to talk about those. Now we're talking about mental health and all sorts of things, but it starts from somewhere,
That's right.
you know,
Yes.
So yeah. And so I felt like a failure. I was in church. You've known me for a number of years. I'm very kind of bubbly, very, that's me. What you see is what you get. But even that shine had gone.
Hmm.
So that people that knew me prior to me getting married and knew me while I was, they noticed that the shine had gone. But people that knew me um, during my marriage, they thought, oh, she's still bubbly. And then people that knew me kind of, after that, they're like, oh my days, there's something not quite right, you know, because I was able to keep up appearances, like, Mrs. Bouquet, but after a while, I couldn't even keep that up. So I just stopped
Hmm.
going out. I would just stay in the house, and I like going out. You know this, Rex. I like going out. I stopped going out.
That's
Stopped
right.
going out. I wasn't going to weddings. In fact, weddings particularly were very, very traumatizing for me because you'd go to weddings and birthdays. At this time, people were doing 30th birthdays and 40th birthdays at the time. And I used to be, life and soul. And I just stopped going because as I arrived, you would see people holding their husbands, thinking, oh,
Hmm.
you would actually literally see, oh, hello, Zina, how are you? I mean, I wasn't Dr. Zina then, I was just Zina, Sister Zina. Hi, Zina, how are you? Sister Zina, how? And you'd see them kind of holding the husband really tight, thinking, okay, this scarlet woman, probably, I know, it's funny now, this scarlet woman's going to come and, you know, put her divorce pause, her
Hmm.
Jezebel pause over my
Hmm.
husband. And he's got, and obviously, this is a woman thing, but when you go out and you're going to see your friends, especially people you haven't seen for a long time, or people, you make an effort to dress, even better than you would normally, dress. And that was me as well. So before I stopped going altogether, I would dress particularly, really, I like dressing anyway, but I would dress particularly well. Maybe my dresses, I mean, I'm much much older now, but my dresses were shorter. So obviously it would be, look at this woman of God with her short dress. No wonder she's divorced. All those kind of,
Hmm.
yeah. And I started noticing. After a while, I just stopped going out. So you'd invite me. So sorry, I can't come. I've got to take the kids to swimming lessons. Oh, but you can come in the evening. Yeah, but I'd always have an excuse. I just stopped going because I didn't feel that I was worthy enough. I didn't think I was even worthy to be a Christian. That's how bad it was. And this is me
Hmm.
going through this myself without anybody else even needing to condemn me. And after a while, it dawned on me that perhaps if I didn't go through this experience, maybe I would have been one of those judgmental people when for other people, you know, yeah.
Wow, it was more than I thought it was going to be. But yes, you've actually described a lot of things that maybe people would just look at on the surface or just gloss over.
Yes.
All the mixed emotions that people go through as well, and the stigma in society and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. Moving on to, I mean, you mentioned something like 15, 16 years on, but you're still here. When you look back, what are some of the unique challenges you think you've encountered, which maybe single parents would encounter, especially when you have to navigate work and parenting and personal life without a partner?
I guess I mean, I'll break it down. Let's start with the emotional.
Hmm.
With the emotional, you have to go over and above to look emotionally stable. If you look emotionally unstable and you have a job, you're likely to lose your job or go through some sort of performance, disciplinary or something. No one's going to know because you're going through a single parenting situation. So, and then in addition to that, you need to be emotionally stable for your children, because children don't stay one, two, three, four. They go through stages. So first, they're babies, and then become toddlers. They become, they're going to primary school, secondary school, and each of those stages has an emotional expectation from you as the parent. Now, in the two-parent family, ideally, it will be an emotional support expectation from both parents. So sometimes it might be a bad cop, good cop, situation. Oh, I can't do this. My life is over. Oh, my teacher hates me. I just want to die. And the dad might say, "Come on, shut up." Or the mom might say, "Oh no, darling, this," and together you do a bad cop, good cop kind of situation and get the child through that. Whereas as a single parent, suddenly you have to become an emotionally bad cop and an emotionally good cop.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's confusing for the children because I don't know which one you are. Today you're really nice and gentle. Oh, can I go to the party? Oh, yes, I'll take you. Can I go to the party? No, why will you go to the party? You're not a child, and they're thinking, you know, who are you? So that's one of the challenges. From a financial point of view, you're always having to count your coin, always having to manage your money, always having to think strategically how can you do things so that the children don't feel as if they're missing out. Sometimes you might make mistakes. I talk about some of the ones I did. For me, at the time I was contracting. I'd been contracting for years in IT as a project manager. So yeah, that's another, like you said, another hat that I wear,
Right.
a project management consultant. And I've been doing it for years. And even while I was married, we had an au pair. So I would, work in Dublin, work in Europe, as a project, and the money was good. And we had childcare for the children. But when, the marriage was over, I mean, I had an au pair for maybe about a year, maybe 2 years afterwards, but after I could afford it. Yeah, they were good. I mean, well, there was challenges. Some were stealing and all that, but those which could happen in a two-parent. But then two of you can deal with it.
That's right.
So you have to deal with the fact that maybe your au pair doesn't turn up on time to pick up the children from primary school. You're at work somewhere, you have to come back, you get fined, you got all that. The children feel as if they're not loved because they're left, or they're the last children, or you're always late to pick up the children, or the children have some sort of show, especially in primary school, and have some sort of show. They might just have a little part, but that little part is a big part for them.
That's
So
right.
they're expecting you to be in the audience, and you're late. I mean, that's happened to me before. I remember one particular time I was rushing from central London. I got there when my older daughter was in primary school. She's 25 now. Got there just on time, but they'd closed the door and they didn't let us in. And we were quite a few parents outside. So I watched, it was in the winter, I watched the show through the window outside. My hands, I had frostbite because I just knew that my child needed to know that I saw her performance.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so she was busy looking for me, because she knows I'm one of those, "Oh, go, Jane." And I'll be taking pictures. She didn't hear me embarrassing her or anything like that. She was wondering, looking for me. She couldn't see me. I said, "Mom, you weren't there." And she was crying. I said, "I was. I saw when you did this. I saw when you did, when you said this and that." And she smiled. But I was outside in the cold. Outside in the cold. Yeah. Another situation is money. Talking about money again. You have to make your money stretch far. So obviously you've got to pay your bills, you've got to pay for outings that the children go on. You've got to, I did one of these things where, and I was alluding to that earlier on, where I maxed up my credit cards a lot during that time because they went to, we every single holiday that was available, the kids were going. So the second it was midterm, we're off somewhere. Sometimes, in fact, my older child actually hates spontaneity because of me, because I wouldn't even tell them. I would just say to myself, "Oh God, in 2 weeks' time they're going to have show and tell, and my kids won't have anything, to talk about, and and I don't want them to feel they're missing out because they don't have their dad. living with us. So I would plan trips. I remember I had an old banger at the time, and we'd driven from London to France
Oh.
with that old banger. This was long before I didn't have a GPS then, so I had a map. My kids in primary school and early secondary school, there I was paying for private French lessons. So I remember my older daughter was sleeping. I said, "No, don't sleep. We need to know where we're going. I'm paying for lessons for you to do French. Read the map and tell me, are we going bonjour?" And so she remembers that with trauma, but I remember that with, oh, I'm doing something fantastic for the kids, you know. So, and I remember another time we were traveling, and I was scared that my husband was going to maybe steal the passports or something and take the children to Nigeria or thing. And I don't know whether that was a well-founded um, suspicion or not. Looking back, or maybe I was just paranoid. I don't know, but that was something that was going on. Lots of women that I knew at the time said, "Oh, their kids had been kidnapped, they're taken away." So that was something that I was really scared of, and so I would hide the passports, and then I'll forget where I hid them. And one particular time, I was turning up the carpets everywhere looking for the passports. I couldn't find them, and found them and left them on the table. Thought they were in the car and drove to Dover, only to find that we didn't. So I had to drive all the way back. You can't really quantify the emotional turmoil of you're trying your best to give your children joy, and the stuff
Mhm.
that you're going through, the sacrifices that you go through to do this. You could have gone first class, but I couldn't afford first class for three of us. So I'm looking for the easiest way possible to ensure that they have holidays. Or I might just be, when lastminute.com first came out, I was always at work. I'm supposed to be working. I'm always checking every 2 seconds. Oh God, oh, we can quickly go to Spain, Barcelona for 7 nights. Oh, okay, £150, £180 for three of us. I'm booking it. I'll come back home. Hi kids, get your stuff ready. We're going to Barcelona. What you do? Yeah, yeah, we're going on holiday. This was, their reality.
Mm.
We went to Orlando like that. The only place we didn't go to was Australia, but every
Mm.
other continent, we went to everywhere. So
Mm.
now the kids, they like traveling, especially the older one, but the
Mm.
older one likes a planned lifestyle,
All right.
not
Yeah.
not the kind of lifestyle that I gave her. So these are kind of, the
Mm.
impact of that. And then another impact is also, I've talked about financial and, trying to be the best parent you can be. I've talked about, emotional, being emotionally available. Then I'm also talking about your reactions, how you react, your responses. This and that's a very big one, and I really want to talk about this, for about 2 minutes or so.
Sure.
Talking to I say women because I know women, but talking, it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. If you are in a relationship that's no longer working or no longer works, please, 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 I use the name of God to beg you. Don't talk negatively about your child's mother or father, because it's Father's
Sure. Yeah.
Day, around the world soon, and please, don't talk negative, and that's really hard. It takes it. I cannot quantify the emotional trauma it takes on you to do that. It was hard for me, but I had to do that.
Mm.
So there'll be times when I'll be really, really upset with their dad. You know, like that. I wouldn't tell them, "Oh, he's horrible." I never did that. I'd go up to my bedroom, I would cry, and they wouldn't know, but I would feel, because I just said to myself, this is their dad. They're gonna get married. They're gonna go. They're gonna have boyfriends, get married, whatever. I want them as much as possible to have healthy relationships with people of the opposite sex. you know, be able to have boys and girls go out, they go to parties, do, whatever it is that they do, the younger ones, dance and all that, but do it healthily, not feel, oh God, he's a man, he's a boy, he's funny. Or start feeling, oh, he's a boy, I can't talk to a boy and get, I wanted them to have, and I have to say, I'm really proud about that. My children have very, very healthy relationships with people of the opposite sex. They have friends, that come to the house, and they also have a healthy relationship of sorts with their dad. they're adults now, young adults. They can make their own, decisions and minds up about certain things, and make a decision on how they want to carry on their own life. There'll be
Sure.
certain things that I did that they'll think, oh no, I would not do that. I would have better boundaries, or I would be strict, or whatever it is. But at least when you're doing this, you're making sure that you don't, as much as possible, bring up bitter children, who either are men haters or women haters. This is really, really important. It's really difficult. It's really important. I went so far as when I used to have au pairs, when for one reason or the other the au pair would leave, either because I've sacked her because she's stolen, or her tenure is over, and she has to go back to her country. I'll change the locks, and every time
Mm.
I changed the lock, I would give the key to my oldest daughter and say that when your dad comes, give him this. We've changed the locks. Did that
Right.
continuously until now. Obviously, he doesn't come anymore, but I did that continuously. But they said, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "Oh no, because I don't want a situation where, And I remember people telling me, "Oh, you need to put all his stuff in black bags and bring him out." I didn't do any of that because I don't want to have. I don't want my children to do that.
Mm.
My prayer for my daughters is that they will have amazing marriages. They will have successful marriages. Like the Bible says that, what? No, I was going to give the wrong scripture. A dog doesn't go back to his vomit. That's not the right scripture. But, you
Mm.
know, I want to make sure they have fantastic marriages. But peradventure they don't. I want them to be able to deal with it in a graceful manner,
Mm.
not in a bitter manner.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, thank you for enlightening us with the different facets that you looked at, the emotional, the financial, the reaction areas as well. The reaction area is so telling indeed. Wow. Are there misconceptions? I mean, I know you said a little bit about it right after it happened, going to the parties and how people would look at you and all that. Do you think there are generally some misconceptions or stereotypes about single parent families or parent themselves? And how do you address that?
Rex, yes. I mean, and then this is across, it doesn't matter what background you are, it doesn't matter whether you're African, whether you're Caucasian, West Indian, American, you know, the world over, there is a negative, stigma with regards to, and I mean, stigma is negative. There's a negative perception with regards to single women, single parents, predominantly women.
Mhm.
I don't think that men get the same as they're looked up in the same way. They're like, oh, he's a single dad. Wow, he's doing so well. You see him at the school gates with his children, or maybe the hair is not combed properly, but he's done really well. But the women don't get accorded the same thing. But
Mhm.
yes, the stereotype. So you just need to put on the news. You're in your tracksuit bottoms. You don't shower. You're sponging off the government. You don't work. You're on benefits. You're smoking weed. That's you're not making any contribution to society. That's how single moms are seen. You're fat or skinny, overweight. That's the picture that you're not good for anything. That's the picture. And then the children of single parents, obviously, they will amount to nothing.
Mhm.
And this, I have to say, I took that on board as if it was they were talking to me personally. I put on the news, go to church, whatever I saw. And I said to my children from when they were as old enough to understand, you know what, Jade, Crystal, you are not a statistic. That's how I raised my children. You are not a statistic. I am not a statistic, or I'm getting my S's mixed.
Mhm.
As far as I was concerned, whatever anyone else can do, you can do it better. What else? Whatever is, if people, when the children were in grammar schools, they both went to grammar school. So the 11 plus, they did all the 11 plus. I got tutors for them. We had trouble with that. Oh, I don't like this particular tutor. Her mouth stinks. Oh, I changed the tutor. Change the tutor. I don't like this other one. Her accent's strong. I didn't care whatever it is they said. I changed the tutor, but they were having tutors. There was it was non-negotiable.
Mhm.
They'll come back. Oh, my friends don't do this. Come back after school. They're doing their bond. I don't know if that's what they use now.
Right. Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I said, you know what? You're not on my watch. You're not going to. The statistic was that you were either going to go to prison, you'll get pregnant, or mug someone, or do drug. That's what you see. And then as a black woman, particularly, you know, it's even worse. So they just someone sees you pushing a pram or in the shop, and then there's no ring on your finger. Obviously, and she's got children. Oh God, not another one,
Mm,
not
mm,
another one. So that was my living reality. And so, as far as I was concerned, my decision was to make sure that that was not going to be our testimony.
mm,
That was not going to be. I was not going to be one of those women. Oh my days. Oh, I'm a single mom. And all that. I I just needed to move ahead, and because I have daughters, I was so conscious of the fact that I had daughters, and I wanted to be sure that what I was pouring into them was positive. It wasn't always positive, 'cause I'm not some angel, but at least I needed to make sure that as much as possible, by the grace of God and with the help of the Holy Spirit, to pour into them so that they had a healthy self-esteem, so they didn't feel that they were less than anyone else.
mm,
They went to more holidays than many of their friends that came from two-parent families. you know. Okay, granted, we were paying instrumentally, and I remember my older daughter, I actually hated that. She said, "Oh, my friends, they've already paid for the India trip. And how come we're paying instrumentally?" I said, "Because they've allowed people to pay instrumentally." And I said, "Look, don't worry. If the last date for payment is September, for instance, I will make sure that I pay by that September. No one's going to chase us for payment,
that's right.
you know." But as far as she was concerned, obviously she was a child. So oh, my mom's already finished. My parents have finished, so she wanted to be able to say that we've. But I couldn't afford to pay that. I couldn't afford to pay
Mm,
£2,000 just like that. So, but as far as I wanted to make sure that my children had every single opportunity to be the best that they could be. When they went to Silicon Valley, for those that were doing computing, my daughter said, "Oh," I said, "Apply." It was on a first come first serve basis. Apply. If you get through, you're going. Mom, but you can't afford it. I said, "Did you hear what I said? Apply. If you get through, that means you're meant to go." She applied, she got through. She went to Silicon Valley, went to went to Germany, went to both of them, did all the things that their mates were doing and over and above. So I think as a single parent, whether you're a single dad or a single mom, you really have to close your ears to all the
mm,
statistics, because if you look at the statistics, you're already defeated. You're already defeated. Yeah. And so that
mm,
was one of the things. The news, the benefit system. Even when they're talking about the Daily Mail, you read the Daily Mail, they will tell you 68% of people that live in London, and then in the small print, they say when you look at the breakdown, Afro Caribbean, British this, and when you look at that, you start seeing, oh, that's me. But you
mm,
can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that.
mm. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. I just wanted a quick follow up on that particular point there. Um, would you would you say single parents are misunderstood in faith communities,
Uh, I
or
wouldn't
or
even
that
work. I wouldn't
perception
even
is
use.
changing? Right.
I don't know if the perception's changing, but what I do know, well, let me answer the first question. I don't think that they're misunderstood. I think they're judged.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that in the faith communities, no one's really going out over and above to try to understand their particular challenges. You know, um, and so people would come to you and say, "Oh, what happened? You're a single parent. Why are you asking me what happened? You know what you should be asking is, how can you help me? How can you support?
Mm,
You
okay.
know, can you look after the child, or can you, give me a break so I can go on holiday or go to a spa or just stay in my house?"
Mm,
I remember when my older daughter, she's 25, when she had her seventh birthday, we had a massive party for her and all that. Uh, I wasn't divorced yet, but we were already living separate lives. He wasn't living in the house, but he came for the party and bought a whole lot of stuff. I went, "Oh God, is that?" And he did all that. So, oh, he's amazing, no problem. But because of I went over and above, got a bouncy castle, did this higher, just did in a big way, sort of things. I didn't want her to feel as if she was missing out. Which, looking back, I think overcompensated. This is another thing that
mm,
single parents do. You
mm,
overcompensate. So I
mm.
overcompensated. Uh, the kids look at me now; they're women. They say, "Oh, mom, you're suffocating." you know. So I overcompensate. I know they're what's going on in their lives and stuff. I say, okay, what introduce me to your boyfriend. They're like, oh no, no, not yet. And when I'm serious, because you're too friendly, you might end up being friendly to them. If I don't like them anymore, then it's going to be awkward. So for me,
Mm,
so I'm that sort of person. But coming back to that, when my daughter was 7, someone out of the blue took her and her younger sister, who was 4 at the time, and took them away after the birthday party and for them to sleep at theirs. And I was able to sleep the whole Saturday night and Sunday night in
mm,
my house by myself, just rested after the
mm,
party. I wasn't expecting it, but I will never forget it till
mm,
today. I don't
mm,
even talk to the lady. I don't know, I've lost contact.
mm,
But I will never forget it till today. And I feel that church folk need to do that a bit more. Don't
mm,
wait to be asked.
mm,
You know, lots of single parents need help. It's not always about money. It's not always about, give her money to buy toiletries or buy food. No, sometimes it's that support, that additional support. Tell her that she looks beautiful. Send her to go and do her hair, or take her children away from her so that she can have, some rest. Or just be there, or send someone to come to her house to come and tidy up. Send a cleaner to her house to clean her house. What? I don't know. It can be different things for different women.
that's right.
I think the faith they don't is a judgmental thing. So it's like, okay, you've obviously done something wrong. You've put
Mm,
yourself in this situation, so why should I be involved in sorting it? And then
mm,
in terms of leadership, even when we're doing praise, because obviously, in most churches they have a very strong family, kind of ministry, and it's normally, so you have prayers for the singles. But the singles, they kind of lump everyone together. So you got those that are maybe young adults that have never been married, or maybe they're dating or they want to date and they're thinking about getting married. Then you got those that are a little bit older that have been waiting to get married in their 40s, but they're still waiting for, to get married either for the man or for the woman. Then you've got those that have been married and are not married for whatever reason, either they're widows or widowers, or they're divorced. Then you've got those, and then maybe they're in their 40s and 50s, still believing God. Then you've got those 60s, 70s I've never met, and you put all of them together and you're praying for singles.
mm. Fair point. Yes.
What's that? What's
Mm,
that? And then when you do your events, you're wondering why people don't turn up.
mm,
You know, I don't think that a single person, and this doesn't, you don't need to be a single parent, but single people don't want to keep on being singled out in prayers. Let's pray for our singles. What's wrong with, as if there's something wrong with you? Being
mm,
single is not a disease.
mm,
Many women, many men would want to be married. That is a given. But because they are not married for whatever reason, well, either you know, divorced or never been married or widowed, whatever that reason that situation might be, singleness is not a disease.
that's right.
And so coming back to that question about misconception is about the judgment.
Mm,
You're single for your reason. This is the reason why lots of women in particular stay in marriages that they have no business staying in,
mm,
because they want that covering, uh, that good looking thing. Oh, I'm married. So you're more in love with the idea of being married than being in love with your husband or your wife.
yes. 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 Wow. Thank you. That's so insightful. Right. You've already talked a little bit about my next question, which has to do financial challenges and how you cope with them. And does one have to be intentional, knowing that maybe there will not be support from any place? I know you talked about how you would do certain things in installment. Would it mean you also have to understand your situation and therefore not try and compete with the Joneses and things like that? Right.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. You can't, because and this you have to understand that your family setup is your unique family setup. You know, you could be eating like we used to say back home in Nigeria. You could be eating Gary. Let's say what can we could eat some pot noodle.
Hmm.
Pot noodles. I don't know how much it is now. I haven't bought it for years, but let's say pot noodles is probably still the cheapest thing you could buy. Maybe it's £2. You know, and you could be, and maybe you and your family are sharing, a pot noodle between you, and you're frying eggs with it just to make it go far. No one knows. No one can. You don't. They don't need to know.
That's right.
You know,
Mm.
you can't compete. I mean, funnily enough, as a single parent, all through my journey, people were trying to compete with me. Thinking, oh, I want to look like Zina. Oh, what she's wearing, what she's, not knowing that I'm very, very intentional about how I dress, what I wear, what my children wear. I mean, also you have to try. This is I'm talking to myself because I didn't do this as much. You really need to manage your finances for a rainy day.
Mm.
You can't always be that yes parent. Can I have this? Yes. I was a bit of that. Can I have this? Yes. Can I have that? Yes. I would buy it and then, think about how to pay it back in a different way. But really, you need to be thinking about investments. What can you do with your money to push your money further? In addition to that, something that lots of women in particular don't do is do your credit rating. Check your credit rating. In lots of families, especially maybe where there was a two-parent family, maybe your responsibility was for the bills and the other person's responsibility was for the mortgage, but you didn't know anything else. You didn't know how the mortgage was paid, whether it was being defaulted on. You don't know. You have no idea. You know, um, but all of a sudden, the marriage, the relationship is broken, and you're by yourself. Suddenly, you're looking at the mortgage and you realize it hasn't been paid for 3 months. They're coming, Halifax or whoever, Royback of Scotland, are coming to turf you and your children out. If you've been spending that money buying clothes and doing those,
Mm.
you have to be in a position where you can at least have some sort of arrangement to be able to keep that roof over your head. And
Mm.
per adventure that you need to leave, you need to be able to pay for your rent wherever it is you're going to be, whether you're going to go into temporary housing or private housing, or you're going to buy another, whatever it is, you need to be able to pay for your abode. So it's really, really important. Why do I say do your credit rating? Because sometimes there could be, and this is going into an area we haven't really talked about, but it's something I do in a different charity that I run in terms of giving women financial education. You
Mm.
need to know who you are financially. So you need to know what your credit file says about you. Typically, if you're in a two-person relationship, especially in a marriage relationship, it's one person, so the debts that are accrued by one person becomes yours as well. And so you might not know that. And then all of a sudden you look at go to Experian or Credit Expert or whoever, and you look and you see lots of black things against your name. Maybe you're
Mm.
trying to, take out credit cards in your name because perhaps it's been a family credit card and now you're by
Mhm.
yourself and you're wondering why you've been refused credit. Maybe you want to buy a fridge. As simple as a fridge that is, I don't know how much fridges are now, maybe 600, 700. They're not expensive, but
Mhm.
perhaps you can't, the fridge in your family home, you've had it for 15 years, you need a new fridge. You try to go and buy one from Curry's and they're like interest free or something, and you can't even get that. And when you check your credit rating, it's because there's a black mark because your husband
All right.
has, you know, and it could be both, it could be either or. It doesn't have, but money has been used inappropriately. But when you know what you look like financially, you can start to build your credit because it's important to build your credit so that you look trustworthy enough to get credit. So if you want to buy a new house, you want to get a mortgage, they check all this. But it's good for you to know ahead of time how you look like.
That's
You
right.
know,
Yeah. Mm. Right. Let's come to the area of support systems. I mean, how have you managed your own support system? I know you talk about this lady who took your kids for a night or two, and you still remember it.
oh yes, I
Um,
do.
I mean, I know there'll be people who may be in other countries and things who may not have maybe organizations, but speak to those scenarios. Are there organizations that are there? I'm not sure if they are, but organizations that help single parents. And secondly, what other things can people rely on to help them?
There are lots of organizations that help single parents, but the key thing is that you need to be ready to be helped.
Okay.
Yes, and you need to be clear on the kind of help that you're seeking. Some of the biggest challenges that people have, and I've noticed this because I kind of do help a lot of people, is that don't expect financial help, because financial help is not sustainable.
Mm.
It's not sustainable. Someone can give you £100 today. Someone can even pay your, £700, whatever it is, mortgage today, but they can't. They won't do it next month because they can't. They've got. But look for something that's more sustainable. Emotional support. If you are
Mm.
emotionally stable, you're able to make better and wiser decisions.
That's right.
You have your agency. There's nothing like having your own agency to be able to make wise decisions about your future and the future of your children, not just financial future, career wise, financially, emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever. But if you're not in a good place emotionally, you can't do that. And lots of single parent workshops, there are loads all over the internet. If you go onto Eventbrite, you see loads.
That's right.
Sign up. So many of them are free. Also, in lots of local authorities, they have single parent, programs. Lots of small charities, like some of the ones that I run, we sometimes get funding to run some of these things. 6 weeks workshops, 6 months workshops, maybe on one particular area. It could be on anxiety. It could be on how to be emotionally resilient. It could be on how to get unstuck. I'm just thinking of different
Mm.
things that I've run before. How to get unstuck? What are the kind of things you need to do? Or how do you deal with unruly children? Depending on the age, or how do you deal with disabilities? I remember, I think last month or 2 months ago, you were speaking to Dr. Soji about
Mm-hmm.
autism, and
That's
all
right.
that, and how do you deal with that? Because things disability doesn't just it doesn't choose a home it goes to. So it could go to a joint parent, it can go to a single parent home, and there's a lot of support out there to help you, but you need to look for it and you need to be prepared to get the support and
Mm.
take your head out of financial support. Because this is no, this is because this is the challenge. And then when people don't give you financial support, you get upset. But it's difficult. It's difficult. If someone, because another thing is that don't look at another, because we always think that the grass is greener on the we always
That's
feel the
right.
grass is greener. So we see a
Mm.
two-parent family or even a one-parent family, and I think things look all fantastic. They don't have money problems. Bailiffs are not chasing, and they're paying all their bills. Duh, duh, duh. But that's a life on the pit of hell. The same challenges that you have, they're having too. They might be, because the Bible says that Jesus was moved with compassion. So perhaps when they hear your story, they'll be moved with compassion and they will
Mm.
help. But 9 times out of 10, that help they're giving you is at their cost. They're not giving you out
Mm.
of their abundance. We have been
Mhm.
taught, and this is a problem in the church particularly. We have been taught repeatedly to give out of our overflow.
Mm.
But we don't do that. We're told that you sow a seed, you have a harvest, and then you don't eat the seed. You plant the seed. But what we do is that we hear a sad story, and there are people that are really good at telling these sad stories. They see you come, they know the kind of, it's true, they know the kind of person that they can speak to. So, this happened, oh sister, this brother, this. Before you know it, you're taking your whole mortgage money
Mm.
and you're giving them, and then the people are chasing you for your mortgage, and then next month you go again so I have this issue, and so you keep telling this story. And I'm not being insensitive, because I've been in this situation loads of times where I have I'm a woman of compassion, so I hear your story. I will take out of what I don't have to give you to solve your problem, and then all of a sudden, like we say in Nigerian pidgin English, all of a sudden I will just clear me. And I think, what have I just done? You know, you know. And so it's important to, do less of the financial expectation. Look for the emotional support, because that will put you in better stead. That will help you if you need to get another job. If you're not working,
Mm.
it will help you to get, if you need to get a second job, or if you can look for other things to do, other, multiple streams of income. How you could sit online and do affiliate marketing or do social or whatever it is. There are loads of things out there, surveys. But if you're not in the right frame of mind, you can't do any of those things, and you'll always be looking for handouts.
Mm.
You know,
Ooh, that
even
is.
the government doesn't like to give handouts. You have to jump over through so many hoops to even get what you're entitled to, and
Mm.
that's from the
That's
government.
right. That's right.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Wow. Let's come to um, an area of strategies you have adopted for your own well-being, because as people like to think of, I mean, I remember the first time I heard that the most important person is you, and I'm like, really? You always was brought up to think that okay, everybody else, family and everybody. Said the person said to me, what if you're not there? And so you said it before that you need to take care of yourself so that you can be sound enough to help your daughters. So let's look at that, because somebody may feel guilty in that area. What's the importance of your own personal well-being and self-care as a single parent?
I mean, Rex, thank you for using the word guilt, because
Mhm.
this is a word that mothers feel, whether they're single parents or not, whenever they take out time to look after themselves, they feel guilty. They feel like they shouldn't be doing it, because obviously we've been brought up to, you know, be told we are the nurturers, we are the support, we have to be sacrificial, you have to cut off all our arms, toes, and legs for our children, our husbands, and our family, and even extended family members. If you're from, Asia, or if you're from Africa, where we also have to look after our extent, and but it's really important. I don't care how guilty you feel. You can feel guilty, but still make sure you look after yourself.
Mhm.
You know, I do it much more now than I used to. I never used to, so I was one of those women that be there for everyone. So I'll be there for my church, be there for my children, be there for everyone, everybody. If you had a problem, call Zina. I would take. I remember my mom used to tell me that you can't be taking Panadol or paracetamol. You would have heard it saying before, or
Mhm.
Nurofen, or for somebody else's headache.
Mhm.
That was me. I would take
Mhm. Mhm.
put it on my head and run with it, and leave mine behind. And then you get worn out, you get tired. I mean, even with life generally, you can get burnt out.
Mhm.
Anyone gets it. Doesn't matter. You don't even have to be a parent. Life is so busy that you can get burnt out. How much more of all these other things that are overwhelming. You have to take time out. This is what I do now. And this might be helpful for anyone listening now or watching later on the replay. Timetable yourself into your calendar.
Mhm.
So every month, as we're going into July soon, I don't know what month we're in, July, June, I don't know whatever month we're in,
Mhm.
you know, um, the next month you go into, because I don't know when you're going to listen to this, so the
Mhm.
next month you go into, whatever that month might be for you, put yourself in your timetable, in your diary, every week. Put yourself and give yourself 2 hours a week. It doesn't have to be 2 hours together. If it can, that would be great. But at least give yourself 2 hours a week where it's only you. I'm not talking about you on a prayer line, because I'm on loads of prayer lines. So I want to kind of break it down. I'm not talking about you and any of the other things you do, whether you're involved in charities. I'm not talking about you and your children, your spouse, your husband, whatever. No, even your job. I'm talking about just you. And if you happen to be a Christian, that will be just you and God. But whatever that might be, just you. It could just simply just lying down sleeping. It could be listening to music. It could be listening to secular music. It could be going for a walk. It could be going to the gym. I try to go to the gym every day. It doesn't always work every day, but I try to go about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. When I succeed in doing that, oh my days, I feel amazing.
Mhm.
When I get up in the morning, I'm always upset. My daughter says, "Mom, are you ready?" I'm moaning. I'm like, "Oh," she said, "Mom, where are your socks? Where are your trainers? Why didn't you get ready yesterday?" Obviously, I have adult children now, so the tables have turned. "Oh, why can't you just be ready?" I'm like, "Oh no!" I'll be moaning and moaning. "I'm gonna leave you, my car. You're gonna leave me." And I think, "Oh God, you're gonna leave me." So I'm rushing, rushing, rushing. I've got my, as you can see, I've got my, me, my trainers are kind of in my hands. I'm rushing out. It's good, and I rush outside in the car. And we go to the gym. By the time I do the treadmill, do a couple of spend about an hour and a half. I come back about 7 o'clock, sometimes 7:30. Park my car and then start my day. You just feel this time is for you. Sometimes I log on to prayer lines, but sometimes I'm like, no, this is just for me. It doesn't have to be going to the gym, but it
Mhm.
has to be something that it's you. You put yourself on your calendar. Don't counsel yourself.
Mhm.
Don't double book. I put myself in my, I don't care who you are. I am not breaking those appointments for nothing. Sometimes it's
mm,
things that I want to do. I'm like, oh, I'd love to do this. No, this is my time, either to sleep, just watch TikToks. I like watching TikToks. So just sit down on your watch and be like, I don't care what it
mm,
is, but it's your time. It's really, really important. And make sure that it's so boundary that everyone around you knows that they can't interfere at that time.
mm,
I've got friends that, and I used to be really offended. I've got friends that you can't call them after 8 o'clock. No matter what, they will pick your call. You can't call her. But that's, and so now if I want to call a particular person, I'm like, oh no, I can't call her. She won't take
mm.
this call. She's put
Right.
that boundary. So put your boundaries in place. No one else is going to mind your boundaries. You need to put those boundaries. And I'll say something quickly for those of you, and I know you probably don't have this as a question, but I'll just say because it's just coming to my mind. Holy Spirit, thank you. Perhaps you're thinking about going into a relationship again. Maybe you want to get married again, but you need to, tread carefully. You want to do whatever it is, but you want to go into another relationship. You need to carry yourself the way you want to be carried. You need to carry yourself the way you want to be carried.
Mm,
You need to, if you show that you are really, how did I say, a treasure in an earthen vessel. If you show that you are valuable, anyone that comes to see you will treat you as if you're valuable. But if someone is, oh, I'd like to call you, and they're calling you at 11 o'clock at night, and you're picking the phone and you're talking until 1 o'clock in the morning, what
mm,
are you chatting about? Why are they calling you at 11 o'clock at night? At that time, you're going to be talking about things you're not supposed to be talking about because
mm.
we're mere flesh. There's no reason the person should call you at a reasonable to call you at 7 o'clock. Have a quick chat, and even that chat, don't stay on the phone for long. And even when you go out, you know, don't you don't let people, oh, he bought me a perfume. You can buy a perfume for yourself. You know, if so, they need to be doing things for you that you can really appreciate. They've gone over and above. It's not about the money. They can book a holiday that's £60, but they've gone over and above because that's something that you will. It's really important. Carry yourself, and this is for men as well. Carry your. I don't want to say the word I don't care because that's not nice. Because when my children say, I get upset. But I don't business
Mm,
what you've gone through. I don't
mhm,
business how your ex-husband or ex-wife treated you. That's gone. You are special.
mm,
You are special, and you need to treat yourself as if you are special. You are. You are unique. You are amazing. That
mhm.
man that wants you needs to fight for you. That woman that wants you needs to fight for you. I
Awesome.
don't know. I had to say that.
Right.
Sorry. I don't know if
Awesome.
that's.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yes, certainly. My thoughts hadn't gone in that direction at all. Um, on the balance of things, I know. Are you happy to go a little longer? I just
Um,
got.
no, not a problem. Not a
All
problem.
right. Just a few more questions. Maybe I'll ask this one, and then we'll just take a 90-second break, and then I'll do the last few questions on my paper.
Okay.
But it has to do with the same well-being. How important is it also to look at the well-being of your children whilst you're prioritizing your own?
I think it's very important, especially nowadays. This is a conversation that we have in my house a lot, and I'll
Mm,
say openly here. It's really important for us to really take advantage of counselling.
mm,
I'm not talking about counseling your children. Let your children tell you what. Yeah, you can talk to your children, but you're not the right person. Let your children get professional counseling, and you also get professional counseling. I know there's a stigma, but forget about the stigma. If you're getting the help you need, it doesn't mean that you're cuckoo. And even if you are cuckoo, you need to get help. It's true. It's true.
mm,
If you have I scratched my elbow here,
mhm,
and I just noticed it as I came in this evening. I'll put a plaster on it, until it gets better. If you have something going on emotionally, mentally, you need to get help. And so it's really important that you ensure for the well-being of your children that you ensure that they get counseling. You advise them, you pay for it if you can, or there's lots that are free or that are, at very, minimal rates. There are also, for lots of people that work, they have these packages like Perk Box and all that, where they have, confidential counseling services where you can phone up, share the
mm,
number of your children if they're old enough to speak to, someone else. And if it's something really, that they need additional help, they will signpost. But it's really important to tell your children there's nothing wrong with counseling.
mm.
Get counseling yourself so that they know they need to see you. So it's not just you say it. And I'm not talking
Right.
about telling someone in church, you get, okay, we have a counseling service in church. No, because nine times out of 10, your children are not even going to trust that anyway.
Mm,
So then, they're just going to look at you and like, okay, mom, but
mm,
they're not going to do it. So it needs to be completely confidential. They can do it by themselves if they're old enough. If they're not old enough, you can arrange, get family counseling for you and your children. And then eventually the counselors will look for ways to, separate you and all
mm,
that. You know,
mm,
yeah, someone's asked a question here, and I hear that. But how do you go if your children are young adults and want them to have counseling, but they refuse? That's thank you very much, Sheila. That is really a very good question. And my children are young adults, so I get that. I guess one of the things is it starts with by example. So you need to. I don't like to say the you need, because that sounds, as if I'm being instructional. But it's
mm,
important for them to see from example that you are doing counselling, you are involved in it, and it's also important that you look for other ways. There might be things on YouTube that they're talking about counseling. Young people are talking it to themselves. You could just make, very subtly put it on TV and it's just there playing in the background
mm,
so that they see. Because sometimes young adults don't listen because and we were like that too. When we get to a particular age where you think you know all the answers, what
mm,
are your parents going to tell you that you don't know? We were exactly like that. So it's about being more creative for them to um, come to those decisions by themselves. We like to say as women that sometimes, we like to say that in relationships, men, they're the head of the household, but we are the neck. So basically, you know, and so sometimes you can be the neck, be so creative that they think they've made a decision by themselves. If your
mm,
children are working, always ask them, are they taking advantage of the benefits packages in
mm,
their workplace, and all that. But
mm,
I take your point, Sheila. It is more challenging for young adults because they are young adults. They think they know the answers. They want
mm,
to find their own way.
mm.
But I guess the message should always be that there's nothing wrong with counselling.
That's right.
It's not a dirty word.
That's so good. Thank you so much for that. Because obviously, you find apart from the spouse having the issue with the other spouse, sometimes there are after effects on the children, and
Oh
people
my
go
days.
through it differently.
Yeah.
Sometimes boys may feel okay, I'm mature, but after a while they go quiet for things, and you wonder why they're so quiet. But these could all be signs of different things. So
Yes.
for those who are watching and those who would watch later, please don't be afraid to get counseling. We'll take a 90-second break now, and then we'll come back and just do some two, three more questions, and we'll wrap it up there. Uh, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You're really pulled, but it's all good.
Prime Focus is a twice monthly live streaming program on YouTube which highlights issues of concern to individuals, families, and relevant communities, bringing greater awareness and education, with a view to improving the lot of many through anticipated positive actions. join in our conversations, and subscribe to the channel too. Sometimes, I know you've partly addressed this. Sometimes people feel overwhelmed as single parents. I mean, what advice would you give to any single parent who's feeling overwhelmed, isolated, not sure about their own abilities to their children now that the reality has hit home?
And you're right. Overwhelm is a reality for everyone. Even Jesus felt overwhelmed with his lot. And I guess we need to cut ourselves some slack. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. We like to be kind to everyone else. Be kind to yourself. Cut yourself some slack. You're not a miracle worker. You're not a superwoman, a superman. You're mere flesh. So be kind to yourself. you know, Cut yourself some slack. Have friends, a support network that you can talk to, even if it's just one person that you can pour and say, "Look, I'm going crazy right now. I'm going crazy." I know as Christians, particularly, we'll say pray, and there's nothing wrong with praying. I am a prayer warrior. I believe in prayer, but I also believe in the practical terms. You can pray if you're in your bedroom, in your house, by yourself. The bills are mounting up, council tax is happening, your children are not listening and everything. You won't even feel like praying.
Hmm.
So you need to ensure that you have the right people around you who are either praying for you or lifting you up. You remember the story of Moses? It was Moses. And when Moses was really weary and tired and he couldn't pray, his hands were up in the air, and obviously, and the Bible tells us that her, yeah, Joshua and her, or was it Caleb and Joshua and her,
Aaron and her.
Aaron and her, thank you.
Yeah,
Aaron
yeah,
and her held up his hand, and every time they put their hands down, he was tired. We need Aaron's and hers in our lives,
hmm,
but we need to be receptive to that. Don't, because sometimes people refuse help, either because they're ashamed or because they're grieving or they're just so upset, and so you're pushing people away. But we all need people. No man is an island.
right.
I used to tell my children when they were younger, especially my older daughter, when she was younger, much younger, she was in primary school or I think in secondary school, I used to say, you need to be a friend. To have a friend, you need to be a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you need to get out of your own head and be that support to somebody else. Because you'd be surprised at what you're going through, someone else is going through something similar. And when you both share, you be, oh my days, you can decide to become prayer partners just based on that.
Right.
You can become accountability partners. Hi Rex, let's say your name is Rexina. Hi Rexina, I can't get out of bed. I haven't been able to get out of bed for a week. I'm stressed. My children are not listening. The bills are mounting up. The divorce, whatever it is, I don't know what to do. And then I'm now, hi, no, you know what? You can do this. You can do this. The first thing you need to do, just take a shower.
Hmm.
Take the shower. Just, use the soap. That's all. Just that. Let's just do that today. Don't do anything else. If you do that, that is some, just little things. Do you see how that sounds? In her head, she's thinking about all the different things. The bills are mounting up. The dishes are in the sink. The cooker's dirty. The house is untidy. The children are all, and everything is just overwhelming. And she just feels like dying.
Hmm.
But if you reach out to someone else, someone might even come and clean the house for you, or she might just say, you know what, just get in the bath, run the water, sit in the bath and cry.
Mm-hmm.
But she will say something practical that can help. Also, let's go shopping. Let's go. I'll come and pick you up. I don't have petrol in my car. Forget it. I'll come and pick you up. Oh, but you don't drive. Okay, we get a bus. Let's go, to Starbucks and get a coffee. Oh, but that's too much money. Okay, let's just get a McDonald's coffee.
Hmm.
Or let's just go walking, in the just window shopping,
Mm-hmm.
and you start talking, and you'd be surprised that some of the things that you're going through, your friend might be going through even worse, and so you can give her support, she can give you support, or he, and before you know it, you're building each other up. The Bible tells us that we need to build each other up in our most holy faith. It's not just in prayer, but in other ways possible. Look for someone to build up. That would be my challenge. Woman
Mm-hmm.
of God, man of God, whoever you are, listening right now or listening on the replay, I know you are going through stuff. I get
mm,
it. Single parent, you're going through, I get it. But how about you just put that on the back burner for a second and reach out to another single parent and find out, or there might not even be a single parent, some other person that's going through something, and find out how you can be of assistance, how you can be of support. They might just need a word in season. You might just say one thing, a
mm.
word of affirmation,
That's
and
right.
all of a sudden, this woman, this man who was about to kill themselves because they can't, you've saved their life.
Mm. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. You couldn't have put it better than that. Thank you so much for that. Right. We shouldn't over spiritualize things. We need to reach out for help, ask for it.
Yeah.
Right. Um, I've got two more questions here. I'll just take the last bit one quickly. In terms of communicating, I mean, when it comes to things like values, and how do you handle things related to key messages, discipline, core values, and all of we live in particular for those in the places like the UK or the diaspora? How do you deal with that? Because these children are like some could be rebellious, and all that. How do you deal with things like that?
For me, children will always be children, just like how we were children as well.
Mm,
But what I did, I started with the Bible, and that's not being over spiritualizing. But I said, this is what the Bible says, and I was consistent with that. So much so, and I'll tell you a funny story. So much so that I remember in 2009, I took the children to, we went to Orlando, Florida. It cost me an arm and a leg. But we went and, we spent 2 weeks. They were happy. I came back broke, but we went. And I remember, like I said at the beginning, I like dressing up a lot, and I, like short clothes. I mean, I don't wear short clothes as much now. Obviously, you have to kind of um, act, dress age appropriately,
mhm,
unfortunately, and so I remember we were in Orlando and we all had these lovely shorts. So the girls wore, I mean, the girls, 2009, my 25-year-old was 11.
mm,
So she was in shorts, her younger sister was in shorts, and then I was in my shorts. And the girls, I can't believe it. As I'm thinking about it now, I'm still laughing in my head. And my youngest daughter, who was, I think she was 4, 2009, no, 2001, no, she was 8. So she said, Mum, where are you going? I'm like, we're going on, we're going on International Drive. We're going on a walk. She's like, oh, well, you're not wearing that. I said, why not? She said, but it's shorts. It's too short. I'm like, it's shorts. It's hot. She said, no, but you can't wear that. I said, but you're wearing shorts. Your sister's wearing shorts. I want to wear shorts. Then her older sister, no, you can't wear that. I said, why can't I wear that? Oh, no, but you can't wear that. You're too big to wear that. I'm like, but my size is in it. If my size is in it, it means that people like me are wearing it. So they thought that, because they know that I like to dress well. So they thought that will work. And I'm
mm,
like, no, I'm wearing it. I'm
mm,
hot. I love it. I bought the shorts particularly because I was looking forward to Orlando. I like shorts. It was
mm,
really short, looking back now.
mm,
And that didn't work. And then all of a sudden, I think my youngest daughter said, okay, so if Pastor Tayo, who was blessed memory, he was,
mm,
I found my church, New Wine Church. If Pastor Tayo, we're all crazy about Pastor Tayo, we're all close, he knew us personally as a family. If Pastor Tayo was here, would you wear those shorts? And all of a sudden, in fact, there's a picture we have. I've got those shorts on with leggings underneath. Every time I
mm.
see that picture, I'm always angry. But yeah, and then Chris, my older daughter says, yes, what would the Bible say? And all of a sudden, what you're pouring out into your children is coming back.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
That's right. Yeah.
You know,
Mm,
I mean, so this, the values that I was putting into there, because I used to say to them as they grew older, I would say to them, you need to dress how you want to be addressed.
mm.
The young adults, they like wearing low tops and short stuff and stuff. I wore short stuff, so I'm not really that um bothered with
Fussy. Right.
children.
Yeah.
Yes, I never really, I wasn't fussy about that, but I was a bit more fussy with the low tops, which they
Mm,
all wear. Because
mm,
during my term, we
mm,
weren't doing but we were doing lots of short things. So I guess that's probably a generational thing.
mm,
But I used to tell the children that you need to choose as they were growing up, as they were becoming young teenagers. I say you need to choose whether you're wearing a low top or a short dress. You can't wear both.
mm,
You have to choose one, and all that, and depending on how and so you always tell them, what does the Bible say? What, what, how, let the Holy Spirit minister to you
mm,
in,
mm,
in your values. The children know we don't lie.
mm,
I mean, everybody lies, but we don't, as a family, we don't lie. We try to tell the truth. Sometimes it's painful, and so we end up quarreling because you've told the truth. And it's, and I said, well, the Bible says a soft answer turns around wrong. I said, yeah, but you said we should tell the truth. So he's got all that. So
mm,
they tell me the truth. We had, growing up, we had a ground rules, um, every 31st of December into the 1st of January. So as we've done Happy New Year in church, we've kissed everybody, we go into the car, we go to the chip shop. We don't do this now, but we go to the chip
mm,
shop on the 1st of January at 3 o'clock in the morning, buy chips, and then we come back and then we all drink slur. And then on the sitting room,
mm.
if you remember, sitting floor, we bring the big A3 sheet of paper and we write the ground rules for the year.
Wow.
Yes, that's what we used to do, and put it on the wall. You can no shouting, no put downs, no this, no this, and anything that you did, there was a corresponding punishment. So
Mhm,
if you shouted, if you were rude, you had to write 10 lines or 100 lines. If mommy did this, mommy, we all had, and we all abided by it, and everyone took turns in leading. We used to do. It's so funny we don't do this now, but I know the children would do this with their children. We used to have
mm,
family monthly meetings,
mm,
and each person
mm.
was responsible. I guess it's the project manager in me. Each person was responsible for leading that meeting. So we're like, okay, Rex, you're on the calendar. You're leading the next meeting for me. Whatever topic it is, you're responsible for sharing that, and that's what we should do. Yeah, and so
Mm,
through that, we were talking about what our values are. Especially the thing about lying. As a single parent, we were often late for school. So I like to give practical examples. We were
mhm,
often late for school. Me driving like a maniac, trying to get them to school. Either the younger one wouldn't get out of bed. She would get out of bed. She would waste time in the bathroom. But we were typically late, and I need to drop them and then get to work. So I was always late for work. And the children are grown up now. I'm still late, so that's a different story. But anyway, I can't blame them. But what was so funny is that as we were going to school, we always used to think about a story. What was the excuse? So we were driving, and we're like, what can we say? Oh, okay, we can say, oh no, we can't say that. That's a lie. We can say this. We just needed there to be a bus problem, there'd be traffic. Even if it was 2 seconds traffic,
mhm,
we would use it because it was the
mhm,
truth. Oh,
mhm,
sorry, miss. Sorry, I'm sorry we're late again. Sorry, there was traffic. And so we would actually try to figure out whether that was a lie or not, because we just
mm,
didn't want to tell a lie, and
mm,
nobody would know it was a lie. But we were like, no, we don't lie as a family. We tell the truth. Another thing we did, in terms of values, in terms of confidentiality. Confidentiality. My children would die with their friends' secrets.
mm,
So they have, they're talking to their fellow friend. I'm like, oh, I heard you talking. What happened? Sorry, mom. I can't tell you. But why? Look, maybe I might be able to give some advice to you that you can give to her or him. Sorry, mommy, it's not my story to tell. That's
mm,
how stringent
mm,
we are. If I'm
mm.
telling them stories, I'm like, oh, I was speaking to Rex the other day, and Rex will say, Mom, has Rex given you permission to tell? That's how we are.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's so,
mm,
I like to give practical examples because
mm.
in terms of the values, yes. And then obviously
Awesome,
prayer,
awesome.
prayer, prayer.
This
Yeah.
is so good. Thank you so much, Zina, for these very, very practical points that you have raised there. I'm just going to let you land with a very final question. Um, yes, there have been a lot of negatives by the grace of God as a woman of faith. You've weathered many things and you've come out on top. What would you say are the positive aspects or rewards you've experienced as being single? Because usually people would think of being single as a disadvantage. But in your terms, I mean, are there any lessons, insights you would like to share? I know you said before that, oh, you know, church will make singleness look like it's a disease or something
Mm.
like that. But what's the privilege of having that experience of being a single parent?
One of the things for me is the relationship I have with my children.
Mm,
We have a very, very close relationship. So much so that yes, I'm mummy. I'm still mummy. They call me mummy and all that. But we speak on a level,
okay.
and so if I want to do something, the first people I'm thinking about, oh God, I wonder what Jade will say. I wonder what Crystal will say. Because I don't have a husband, so I'm not going to say, I wonder what,
mm,
John will say or Peter. It's always them. And I kind of know the kind of things they will say. So it helps keep me in check. Oh, if I go back and tell Jay, just oh mom, why did you do that? Oh, that's so embarrassing. You shouldn't have done that. You should have not. You're already thinking what they're going to say, so it helps you so it's like a check and balance. It keeps you
mm,
accountable. You want to make sure that you do something that your children are proud of, or the decisions that you make, they're not going to blame you, for making those decisions. So it helps me, and vice versa. The children will say, oh, mom will be proud of this. Not so much mom, because they're Gen Z, so they're not like us. They don't care whether we're proud of them, but they are their own people, so they're not swayed by peer pressure, and they would come and say, "Oh, mom, I was doing this the other day. I was thinking about this, and I want to do this. It's an FYI." That's what they tell you, mom. It's an FYI. I might say, "Oh, maybe you need to do this, and maybe you know to do this." Oh, no, 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 mommy. I'm not asking you for suggestions. It's an FYI. So they tell me everything, but
mm,
they will tell me whether they need advice, suggestions, or whether it's just an FYI. So I like the relationship. The second thing, being a single parent, is not just the relationship I have with the girls, but also being able to know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. I know myself inside out, which I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do if I was, still married. Because obviously, you it comes with the territory. You think about your spouse and your children, you don't think about yourself. But suddenly I had to think about myself. I know who I am. I know, what I would not compromise on. I know, I know what my boundaries are, and I know what my triggers are, which I
mm,
would never have known.
mm,
Another positive thing is just the fact that I can look back and see the successes that my children have achieved in spite of challenges. So they have gone through challenges, and they will continue to go through challenges, not in a negative way, but watching them, how they resiliently get through those challenges and work through them. Sometimes as a parent, you want to help them. You hear them going through, and you're crying in the corner, you're praying in some corner, praying for them, and all that. But you just want to stretch your hand and try and help them, but you can't. And so you're worried, are they going to get through this? And then 2 seconds later, they're not crying, or they've got through that. You say, oh yeah, the other day you were talking about, you kind of, oh no, mom, that's fine. So
mm,
being able to see that I've raised resilient adults, that have strong values, that are contributing to their part in society, but also have been raised to get through the challenges of life.
mm,
Because they and then the fourth thing is, and this is a really difficult part, is having the faith and the belief that they're going to be all right. That is the hard, and I'm at that
mm,
journey now.
mm,
Trying to kind of know that they're going to be all right. Trying, learning to really depend on God, and not
mm,
just depend on God, with your mouth.
mm,
My children travel all over the world. I remember my younger daughter. She's on the spectrum, and she's 22 now. So on her 21st birthday, out of the blue, she said she was going to Mexico. I'm like, oh, fine. Who are you going with? Because they've traveled. They've been traveling since they were 15 by themselves
mm.
with their friends. I allowed them. You know, who are you going with? By myself. Even as I'm talking about it now, I'm literally dying a second death. As I'm, I'm like, what? Why Mexico? Could you have, even her sister said, could you not go to France or
Mm,
Spain? Because you're thinking if something goes wrong, I can hop on a plane. Not that you
mm.
can even do it. She went to Mexico by herself. I have never prayed like I prayed. I was sleeping on Jerry Ezra. I was sleeping in church. I was everything. you know. And what was so funny about this is that the things I was praying for were not the things I should have prayed. But I didn't know, because you don't know. So you're praying from a place of fear. So I'm praying. So I'm thinking, okay, Mexico. This is Latina. There's drugs. There's this. So but so I was praying for all the Latina names that I knew. Every day I was shouting. My neighbors could hear me. They wondered why I was always shouting. I was praying for no rape, no this, no that. The things, and that was good. But the things I should have prayed for were all the extreme sports, which I didn't know. I didn't know
mm,
that my until I saw the pictures on the video. I'm seeing pictures of my youngest daughter. I don't know if it's skydiving or something. I'm
mm,
seeing her upside down, and I'm like, "What's this?" But I can see your upside. I can see your bum is like almost near Jesus.
mm,
Why? She's like, "Oh, I was skinny dipping or skydiving or I forgot what she called
mm,
it, zip lining, all sorts
mm.
of things." I'm thinking, these are the things I should have been praying for. You know, so
Awesome.
learning to let go and
Mm.
trust God that they're going to be fine.
Awesome, awesome. I just love that. That's a good line to bring the session to a close. Learning to let go and leaving everything to God. Yeah, we just thank God. Zina, this has been super exciting. There's
You.
been rich depth of information that you shared with us, and I'm sure our audience, those who joined a little late, those who will hear from the beginning, and those who will watch later, will definitely be blessed by all the things that you have said. Zina, it's such a pleasure. Thank you once again. To our audience, I want to say thank you to you. We've got a few people in. Sheila, thank you so much for your questions. I know a lot of what Dr. Zina said resonated with you. Matilda is insightful. Thank you for all the comments and those that will come later. Dr. Zina, before you leave, I know you're a very busy woman, but will there be anything maybe the audience want to reach out to you for something? Would there be maybe an email or maybe a discovery session, 10, 15 minutes, something that you could do?
Yeah, I can. I mean, it's funny you say that. I was thinking about that.
Okay.
Lots of single parents are stuck,
Hmm.
trying to discover who they are or who they once were, who they need to be. They're so busy trying to raise a family and trying to do it correctly that they forget about themselves, or maybe they want to move on career wise or just person wise. Now I'm ready. Something I didn't mention it on today's show, and another show I do. One of the books that I wrote was called Reinvent in 2018. Was called Reinvent You: How to Move from We to Me After
Hmm.
Divorce. Um, I'm prepared to, because some of you might not have been married, but you're stuck for whatever reason. I'm prepared. You can have a half an hour chat with me to figure out to give you some key nuggets that you can take that can help to move you forward from being stuck to unstuck, and then
Hmm.
we can have a discussion and decide whether you want to take that forward afterwards. That's fine, but this particular session will be completely free, all because you've been on this show.
Awesome.
I'll share the link with you,
Okay.
Rex. They can book
All
time in
right.
my calendar. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Zina, for that. Wow, that is so awesome. Wow. Wow. 30 minutes. Okay. So I'll put it into the description later. So please make sure you avail yourself of this opportunity and share it with somebody you know critically needs this as well. All right. Thank you, Dr. Zina. It's been such a
Thank you
pleasure
so
having
much.
you
Thank
today.
you. Thank you
Wow.
so
I,
much.
I feel
You know.
feel so elated, because like the woman with I didn't want to overwhelm the audience with the different hats you wear, but you have to give us more than 100 minutes of your time. I really
We bless you,
appreciate
Lord.
it.
We will. Thank you so
Right.
much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me. It's
Thank you
been
for
a
coming
pleasure.
today.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
All
everyone.
right then.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye to our audience. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight as we bring tonight's session to a close.